Here is a database bill, $744. That is 1 month for one Postgres server. Now here is that exact same database running as a single file on one box, backed up for about 3 cents. That is the whole video. SQLite plus a small tool called Litestream. One file, one server, and reads that scale well past 1 million users. No Postgres, no managed database service, no monthly cloud database bill at all. The usual advice says you need tiers: a database server, a cache in front of it, a read replica beside it, backups behind it. Server-side SQLite folds that entire stack back into your own application process. So why does not everyone just do this? There is one honest reason, and it is a real one. SQLite lives on a single machine. Lose that machine, and you lose the database. For production, that was a deal breaker. Litestream fixes that one problem. It streams every change your database makes straight to S3 while your app keeps running. It sits beside your app as a background process, watching SQLite and shipping every write off the box. Let us talk about money, because this is where it gets a little absurd. A production-grade Postgres on Amazon RDS runs around $744 a month once you add real storage, a standby instance for failover, and backups on top. Scale that up under load, and teams openly report $10,000 to $12,000 a month for the database alone. Litestream to S3 costs almost nothing because you are only paying to store a handful of small files. Developers run real, live replicated databases for about 3 cents a month, push constant writes at it all day, and it still tops out near $13. You are trading a recurring invoice for pocket change. So how does it actually work? SQLite already keeps a write-ahead log, a running journal of every page it changes before those changes settle into the main file. Normally, SQLite cleans that log up on its own. Litestream steps in, takes over that job, and reads every change out of the log the instant it happens. It packs those pages into small, numbered transaction files and uploads them to S3 in strict order. Every file gets the next number in an unbroken sequence, so if even one ever went missing, Litestream would see the gap immediately and refuse to hand you back a corrupt database. Correctness is the entire point. To keep restores quick, a background process merges those little files into bigger ones on a schedule roughly every 30 seconds, 5 minutes an hour, then takes a full snapshot of the database once a day. Recent history stays fine-grained for precise recovery, while old history folds down into a few compact files. Recovery is just that sequence played back. Litestream grabs the most recent snapshot, then replays each transaction file in order until your database is whole again. Because the files are numbered, you can rewind to almost any single second in the retained history, not just the last nightly backup, and the destination is entirely your call. S3, Backblaze, Azure, Google Cloud, even a plain SFTP server in a closet. Your data lives wherever you already trust, instead of being locked inside one vendor database service that makes leaving expensive by design. It is also just less to run. The Postgres 14 manual is nearly 3,000 pages. With SQLite, there is no server to firewall, no host-based auth to debug, no connection limits to tune, and nobody to page at 3 a.m. You get windowing, common table expressions, full text search, and JSON, which is about 99% of what a normal app touches. And here is the shift that gets overlooked. Hardware got absurdly fast. A 1 GB database now loads into memory in under a second off an NVMe drive, and most applications will never see a terabyte, even if they get genuinely popular. We keep reaching for jackhammers to drive finishing nails. Now for the part that actually changes how you build. Postgres is genuinely fast, well-engineered software. The trouble is that it lives across a network, and the speed of light is not up for negotiation. In 1 millisecond, light travels from Philadelphia to New York and back, and that is before you add switches and firewalls. So a Postgres query inside a single cloud region costs you about a millisecond just in travel time. SQLite runs inside your process in the same memory as your code and answers in 10 to 20 microseconds. That is micro with an M, 1,000th of a millisecond. Do the arithmetic, and that is 50 to 100 times faster on every single query. There is no socket, no connection pool, no serialization, and no round trip across a data center. The query planner and your code share the same CPU cache. There is a magic number in apps. Under 100 milliseconds feels instant to a human being. On a networked database, a dozen small queries in a single request can burn 10 of those milliseconds in travel alone before your code has rendered a thing. That is where snappy apps go to die. Flip that around and something freeing happens. When each query is nearly free, you stop tiptoeing around the classic N+1 problem, where one page fires off 100 tiny lookups and you simply write the queries you actually want. The database stops being the fragile thing you design around. It even speeds up your own day. Flip SQLite into memory for your tests, and the whole integration suite runs in seconds instead of the minutes a real client-server database costs you locally and then costs you all over again in CI on every push. But can one box really serve a million people? For reads, comfortably. In write-ahead log mode, SQLite handles many readers at the same time without them blocking each other, and you can spread those reads across as many copies of the database as you care to run behind a load balancer. That is where Litestream is heading next. Because a replica is just files in a bucket, you can stand up, read copies close to your users around the world, and let each one send the occasional write back to a single leader. Most apps are overwhelmingly reads, so that model scales a long way. The rewritten Litestream already takes a first step there. It can serve reads directly out of S3 through a virtual file layer, fetching only the specific pages a query needs without ever downloading and restoring the whole database file first. Writes are the one honest constraint. Only a single writer runs at a time. That sounds tight until you measure it and watch one SQLite database absorb tens of thousands of writes every second. For the overwhelming majority of apps, that ceiling is far higher than anything they will ever hit. And here is the number that ends most of these arguments. Expensify, the expense app millions of people use at work, runs SQLite at 4 million queries per second on one server. Not a cluster of 100 nodes, one machine with a thin layer they built on top called Bedrock. So this is far from a starter database you outgrow in a quarter and swap out. It is powering real companies at serious scale today. It is archived by the Library of Congress as a storage format, and it has earned that trust over 20 years. You already trust SQLite more than almost any other database, whether you realize it or not. It is inside your phone, both web browsers you use, your car dashboard, and your smart TV. Every Android device and every iPhone ships with it, running billions of times over. Add it all up and there are more than 1 trillion SQLite databases in active use right now. By a wide margin, it is the most deployed database engine on the planet and one of the most exhaustively tested pieces of software that has ever been written, with millions of test cases per release. Litestream itself comes from one person, Ben Johnson. Before this, he wrote BoltDB, the small storage engine that sits underneath Kubernetes and its etcd store, so he has spent years thinking about exactly this problem. Now he builds Litestream full-time at fly.io. It is fully open source, sitting past 13,000 stars on GitHub, and it just shipped its biggest rewrite in years as version 0.5 with dozens of releases behind it. This is not a weekend experiment that might vanish next month. That rewrite tore out the old internals, the tangle of generation IDs and shadow log files, and replaced them with clean, numbered transaction files. That new foundation is exactly what makes serving reads straight from S3 possible in the first place. None of this is magic, and Ben is the first person to say so. Because a restore replays every change in order, a large database can take minutes to fully come back, not milliseconds. So size your expected recovery time to the database you actually have, and snapshot more often if minutes matter to you. And it is built around a single node. Ephemeral serverless platforms and rolling deploys, where the whole machine can vanish underneath you mid-write, are not its home ground yet, though the newer versions and its sibling project LiteFS keep closing that gap. Actually using it is almost boring, which is the entire point. You point one small binary at your database file in a bucket and walk away. That is the whole setup. There is no schema to design for it, no migration to run, and no client library to add. Your application keeps talking to plain, ordinary SQLite with whatever library you already use in whatever language. Litstream runs alongside it as a separate process and stays out of the way. Your code does not even need to know that it exists. So here is the honest verdict. If you are a solo founder or a small team shipping a normal web app, this combination is about as close to a cheat code as infrastructure gets. You delete an entire tier of your stack and a big chunk of your bill in one move. You get one file you can restore for pennies, queries that answer in microseconds instead of milliseconds, and far more headroom than you will actually touch for a long, long time. The simple option turns out to be the powerful one. It will not replace a giant multi-region cluster with heavy concurrent writes across continents, and it was not built for that. Litstream aims squarely at the 99% of apps that never really needed that kind of machinery and got sold it anyway. So before you reach for a managed database on your next project out of habit, remember the boring option. One file, about 3 cents a month, and a great deal more room than it looks. Sometimes the oldest tool on the shelf is the sharp one.